Time now for Marriage Builders, building marriages to last a lifetime. Also online at marriagebuilders.com. Now, here's Joyce Harley and Dr. Bill Harley.
Good day to you. Glad you could join us for Marriage Builders Radio. Well, you've asked good questions on a variety of topics, and we look forward to discussing each one and getting you the answers that I know you're looking for. All on today's Marriage Builders Radio. Joining us now for this discussion is my husband, Dr. Bill Harley, licensed clinical psychologist and best-selling author on marriage. Well, you wrote a book called Surviving an Affair. We give it out a lot, and it has really helped marriages over the years. How long has that book been out?
That's a good question.
I got you on that one.
We had, this is our second edition that is out now. Mm-hmm. I would imagine it's been over 10 years.
Okay, yeah. Well, I just reference it because this is an area of expertise that you participate in. In fact, you wrote about it.
And I'll tell you how it got started.
Yeah.
And that is that in our website basically was started in 1995. Yeah, 1995. And
it seems so long ago to say 19.
In 1996, I wrote a series of Q&A columns every week, and we had it in a newsletter that we had. And so for a period of about a year, I wrote all of these Q&A columns, and so there are over 50 of them. And one of the series that I did was on surviving an affair. And I had 4 parts, and they're still there. You can still read my 1996 version of surviving an affair. And it is pretty close to what we've got right now in the book Surviving an Affair. So basically what I did was I followed the same basic procedure that I had been using since the 1980s. I mean, this was something that I had used in my therapy from the late 1970s, actually, onward. And some of the basic ideas that I had were implemented in the late 1970s and were found to be very, very successful. So this little series, this 4 Q&A letter series, formed the basis for the book Surviving an Affair.
That's interesting, yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is that an interesting email sparked an interesting look at the whole idea of infidelity. What is an affair?
Right.
And I think I'll first read what David in Idaho had to say, and then we'll get to what your definition is and whether an affair really applies to what is happening in his marriage.
All right.
Okay, here he goes. He says, affairs come in many forms. It doesn't have to be with another person, male or female. And then he asks, can it also be an animal, such as a bird?
We got a bird problem here.
Now, I first giggled, then I thought, I can see where he's going, whether the word is correct or not, but the affection that a pet owner gives to its pet could be threatening to a spouse.
Sure.
And that's exactly what he's experiencing in here, that his wife evidently dotes on this bird that she has. But I thought, but we could put something else in its play. What else do you dote on? What else are you consumed by? And I thought career, other friendships, other than your spouse, anything that you give more attention to than your spouse could be in the category that David's referencing. However, I don't know that I would call that an affair.
Yeah, well, an affair is a romantic relationship with somebody of the opposite sex. Now, in today's culture, it can technically be anybody that you have a romantic relationship with.
But not a bird.
But, yeah. The basic idea is it a romantic relationship? Are you, in fact, meeting the needs for affection, for conversation, for sexual fulfillment? That kind of stretches it a bit, but at the same time, the idea is this a romantic thing that's going on, and that's what defines an affair. Now, let's suppose a person were to tell me that what relationship I'm having is not at all romantic. I'm not in love with this other person, but we have sex 3 times a week. That's still an affair. So if you're having sex with the person, even I would say sexting or communicating sexual interests on the internet between each other, it's still, for me, that qualifies as I would call that an affair.
Mm-hmm.
So anything romantic and anything specifically sexual qualifies for an affair. Now, what if you have a very, very close relationship with a bird? Does that count?
Well, I am a pet owner and a pet lover, right? Mm-hmm. I love all animals, period. And I thought to myself, well, yes, I do get a need met. I mean, I give affection and they give affection back. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yep.
But my main source of affection is from you, which is a need of mine.
Right.
So I don't think of this as betraying you in any way. Now, I think the root of all of this is what I'm trying to get to, is that it really has to be evaluated by the individual. Is this more important? I mean, you could talk to a guy maybe about even his tools in his garage
mm-hmm.
and his hobbies that he has. Is that more important than your spouse? But I don't call it infidelity. I wouldn't call it infidelity. I don't know what you'd call it.
Right.
Priorities maybe would be the word.
Yeah, and there's an argument that could be made that any violation of the policy of joint agreement is a problem in marriage, and it is what we call independent behavior. So you can always classify all of these things as a form of independent behavior. Independent behavior is behaving as if the other person doesn't exist. You're not considering the other person's feelings. And we talked about that a lot last week. We had a couple of people where they were engaged in independent behavior. One of the most interesting ones that we got the most email back on was the person who his wife objected to him drinking coffee. And the question is something like that serious enough to challenge a marriage? So
in other words, a love of anything that trumps the love for your spouse is a threat to the relationship and needs to be dealt with. Well, let's get to David's situation, okay?
All right.
So let's not call it an affair, okay? But he's got a problem here. He does feel that she is more enchanted with this pet bird than him.
Right.
So the solution would be?
Well, yes, to find out exactly what is the bird doing for her that he's not doing. You know.
Oh, like I said, the illustration is what made me giggle a bit, on this one. But
well, it's an interesting point because
that's why I thought it was worthy of discussion.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your relationship to cats, because you've had a cat ever since you were a little girl.
Yeah,
and you love cats. And when we first got married, we didn't have a cat. And then somebody came to our front door with a kitten.
Lady, would you like a kitten?
And we've had a cat ever since.
And all I had to do was reach out.
We had 13 at one time, actually.
Well,
it was a litter.
We took strays, and it was a litter. Exactly.
But anyway, we've had a lot of cats.
And I found them good homes.
A lot of cats in our lives. Now, I was raised with cats, too. Mm-hmm. I had a cat, and I've always had a cat, and I love cats. And so this particular issue of cats has never come between us. We both love our cats. And I think they love you more than they love me.
Because I feed them.
Because
That's the only reason. I totally am into reality there. I do give them affection. There's no doubt about it. But
the basic idea is, let's suppose I was jealous of the cats. Let's suppose I saw you giving all of that affection.
See, and that's what David's talking about.
You see, then according to the policy of joint agreement, we couldn't have cats.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have to just cut them out totally. You discuss it.
Well, we would discuss it, and I would say,
how would you
every
feel?
Time I would say, well, I'd feel comfortable with the cats being outside the house and with you not cuddling with them the way you do. Now, granted, it would be a crisis.
And then I would say to
we
you,
would have a crisis.
Yeah. And then I would say to you, well, what if I gave them affection when you weren't in the house? Would that be a problem for you? I mean, you can't just cut them out. You have to have the discussion
if it was
first.
terribly offensive to me, then in order for our marriage to survive, we'd have to have something else besides cats that I wouldn't be offended by.
The principle is good, but putting it in play can
It's
be
tough.
painful.
Oh, yeah.
Let's continue this on the other side of today's Marriage Builders Radio. Join the thousands of couples who have learned step by step how to experience a meaningful and fulfilling love relationship. They did this by completing Dr. Harley's online seminar and home study courses, His Needs, Her Needs, and Love Busters. Here's how it works. You'll begin by watching an online seminar where Dr. Harley will help you identify the problems you face in your marriage. Then, the home study courses will show you how to solve those marital problems in a systematic way. Go to marriagebuilders.com homepage and click the tab Courses, Seminar, and Accountability. Look for program number 2 for a description of the seminar and the courses. Then follow the instructions on that page to place your order. Start the program the day the package arrives. And if you're not completely satisfied, send it back to us within 30 days, and you'll receive a full refund, including shipping charges. Restore passion to your marriage. Order today. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Welcome back to Marriage Builders Radio. Well, during the break, Dr. Harley said, you're lucky you're not married to a jealous man. And I said, well, some women could
Jealous
be
of cats, anyway.
Jealous of cats, right. Okay. Some women could be jealous of their husbands going out and working in the garage constantly on a hobby.
See, that's a very good... Yeah.
Their tools are so precious to them, they have to be in a certain spot in the garage.
Yeah.
And
is there anything in your marriage that you that if you had to give it up, it would cause you to leave the marriage? I mean, that's the whole issue,
See, if
Is
I
there
had to give up
so
cats,
important?
it would not cause me to leave my marriage.
No.
I would want to talk with you about a way that maybe I could still have access to those furry little bodies. and still enjoy that.
And then I would say to you, that is my problem.
Have you ever thought of developing a furry little body? But anyway, discussion, though, is important, though, in this. And to be open and honest, I feel this way. I feel that in David's case, you're giving far more attention to that bird than you are to me. And I am offended, and I'm hurt, and I don't feel loved by you because of that.
Right. That's and that the point of every issue that comes up where a person says, it really bothers me when you do this. Yeah, but this is something I have to do. You see, then right away, we got a whole lot of red flags. What do you mean you have to do it? Well, because this, because of that, because of the other thing. You mean that these other things are more important than the way I feel? Well, the way you feel is something that I think you will eventually get over. You will not feel this way of it forever. But yet this other thing is so important in our lives that we simply have to have it. I mean, that's the line of reasoning that a person uses who wants to hang on to something that is a violation of the policy of joint agreement. Now, the question that you and I can ask each other is there anything in our lives that if the other person were to say, it really bothers me that this is in our life, that we wouldn't stay married?
No, there's nothing.
See, and I think that that's a crucial point in terms of having a great marriage. Now, the reason that there is nothing has created for us a very compatible lifestyle. Because if there ever had been a problem at some earlier point, it would have been right away taken care of because of that policy. So what we've done is we've swept away all the things that had been a problem for either one of us, so that none of those things are in our lives. It would have to be something brand new, something that we've never really experienced before.
And we understand each other so well at this point that we wouldn't even bring in something brand new that could be a problem.
Right.
Because we can anticipate that it would be a problem even before it happens.
Right. Now, in marriages later in life, and I mentioned this yesterday, that, one of the great advantages of marrying young, like we did, you were 19, I was 21, was that we had not established a lifestyle yet. There were certain things that we were used to doing, but they were not set in cement. We were creating a new life together as a married couple. And so as we developed a new life, we were sensitive to each other's reactions to things. And we vetoed each other's ideas. I vetoed some of yours, and you vetoed some of mine. And we both said, okay, we won't do those things.
Okay, now wait. Let's stop a minute. Veto? I've never heard you talking about that.
Well, the policy of joint agreement gives you the right to say, I'm not enthusiastic about that.
Okay.
And so we can't do that.
Until we discuss it and
Right.
we come up with something where we are both happy about.
But I think that that's the point of a veto, is that you say that this idea that you have isn't going to work for me. See?
I prefer that phrasing than to use the word veto.
Okay.
I think that could be misunderstood as being in control, being a demand almost.
Well, okay, let's look at it this way. There are two kinds of control. One is control that we have over each other of things we can't do. In other words, I can't do anything that would bother you. You can't do anything that would bother me. We have that kind of control. But we don't have the control that says that you have to do what I tell you to do. In other words, we have again, going back to the word I used before, we have veto control.
Oh, you're going to use that.
In other words, I can, you can say, Bill, this is what I've got planned for today, and how do you feel about it? And I would say, well, this is fine, this is fine, this is, I don't know if that's going to work for me. And then you say, okay, and then we discuss it. But the point is that if it's not going to work for me, you don't do that, and you do something else.
But because there's discussion after, veto, that's it. You stamp it, it's vetoed, and no further discussion.
Yeah, that's the point.
And that's where I don't like the word veto.
Well, that's the point well taken, and that is that if we don't agree to something, then we talk it over until we find something we can agree to.
So I do not want to use the word veto.
You don't like veto?
No, don't put that in the
I'll
marriage
think of a
builders
different
material,
word.
okay?
Right.
Well, it can be misunderstood. It can be misconstrued, and it could be then used in a very bad way in a marriage. I have veto control. I mean, I could just see somebody wielding that like a stick. I mean, I'm in charge.
Yeah, and technically the control comes out of an agreement that is made in advance. See, in other words, you and I have agreed that if the other guy is not enthusiastic about it, we aren't going to do it. So what you say is, I'm not real happy about this particular development in our lives, and I say, all right, for the time being, I won't do it. We can continue to discuss it, but you have that much control over me. So you have that much control.
And I'll buy that. Absolutely.
I can't continue to do this.
But if veto to me means it's an end, and we're not talking about it's done, no more discussion. We're talking about I have concerns, it's bothering me, let's talk about it, and let's come up with something where we both will be happy.
Right. Now let's talk about working in the garage.
Yeah.
See, so let's suppose that every night I go out in the garage, I start working on a project, and I got a project that is halfway done.
I could dream.
You think that would be fun?
It's kind of the farthest thing from your schedule, but
well, I did take wood shop in high school.
Yeah, right.
But the basic
okay,
idea...
but I can pretend. Go ahead.
Right. So I'm going out there, and that really bothers you because I'm not coming in and being with you for the evening.
Right.
I'm out there in the garage the whole evening working on my project, and what I would be doing, I'll tell you, what I would be doing would be putting a Model T together.
Yes, you would like to do that.
I would like to do that. Now, I don't know that would be as interesting for you as it would be for me, right?
Oh, I think that would be a
really?
challenge.
It'd
be kind of fun to see it going along.
Wow,
and
I think
eventually
I see something in our future here.
Eventually being able to ride in it. And,
when I was in high school, I actually took a Model T apart and put it back together again.
But we digress.
Part of my high school training.
The point is that if I'm not happy with that, what were you getting at?
Well, the point would be that I would say, okay, I'm not going to work out in the garage anymore, and then we would discuss what I would do evenings.
So, in other words, you don't do it until we discuss if you could do it where I wouldn't be bothered,
under
under what conditions could you do it? Yeah,
so,
okay.
Say your choir practice, then I work in the garage.
Well, you do most of your phone counseling when I am at choir practice, and you do that scheduling accordingly, so that when we have free nights together, we are together.
Sure.
All right. I think we made it through. We are never going to use that word again, and I still think we got the concept over to our audience. Yes. Okay, when we come back, we have good emails that have come our way that make for good discussion. So stick with us on today's Marriage Builders Radio. Do you and your spouse know what to do but just can't get yourselves to do it? If motivation is your problem, try the Marriage Builders online program. It comes complete with an accountability coach to help motivate you every step of the way. First, you view the online seminar where Dr. Harley will explain his basic concepts and help you identify and organize your problems so you can resolve them in a systematic way. Then, your accountability coach will guide you through the solutions to those problems as you complete Dr. Harley's home study courses, His Needs, Her Needs, and Love Busters. Your coach will communicate with you throughout the program by email and telephone whenever you have questions or need encouragement, and your progress will be evaluated by your coach. For more information about the Marriage Builders online program, click the tab Courses, Seminar, and Accountability, and then look for program number 3 for a complete description. Restore passion to your marriage. Register today.
Welcome back to Marriage Builders, building marriages to last a lifetime. Here's Joyce Harley and Dr. Bill Harley.
Reminder that if you have a question, a comment, or a topic, email us, mbradio@marriagebuilders.com. Include your phone number if you'd like to consider being a caller and your mailing address so we can send you a free copy of one of Dr. Harley's books. That's mbradio@marriagebuilders.com. Well, this woman, Janice, is writing us, and she said, I've heard you say that a spouse should tell their husband or wife if they are attracted to someone else. What should I do if my husband tells me just that? He is attracted to someone else. My reaction first would be anger, then hurt, then it would always be on my mind that I'm not his one and only. I think she's challenging. If we put this into play and we actually do, in essence, confess to our spouse that someone out there is attractive and you are being attracted to them, what do you do with that information?
Well, first of all, as a couple, what you do is decide how you're going to get away from this person that you're attracted to. I mean, that's the point. The point is that being attracted to someone of the opposite sex is, from my perspective, having worked with thousands of couples who've had affairs and seen the incredible destruction that it causes, and the sadness and the breaking up of homes. You get away from that person. You do not have that person as a friend. You do not have that person as somebody that you get together with regularly. And if you say, for example, that let's suppose there's a couple that we do a lot of socializing with,
mm-hmm.
and you were to tell me that you are developing an attraction for the husband, what we should do is stop setting up social events with that couple. See, that's the point. The point is that it's used as a vehicle to separate the person that feels attracted from the person that they're attracted to.
And that's an action step, absolutely.
Yep.
But Janice is getting to the point of what do you do with that information personally? Granted, I'm glad you told me, let's take up precautions, but now I got to live with the fact that you were attracted to her? And like she said, it hurts her. First she's angry, then it hurts her, and it's always on her mind that I wasn't competitive enough.
Well, let's suppose that she's under the illusion that the only woman that her husband could ever be attracted to is her. See?
Okay,
Now,
that's a nice illusion to be in.
Now, if he were to tell her that I'm attracted to someone else, it doesn't mean he's not attracted to her, but he's also attracted to someone else. It would be disillusioning. She would now be disillusioned. And what a disillusionment is a situation where the illusion that you have is broken up, which is good. I mean, we shouldn't be under illusions. So the idea is that in order for me to be really happy in my marriage, I need to be under the illusion that I'm the only person that my husband could ever be attracted to. And I would say, well, if that's the way you need to live, then it means that you have to create lies. You have to create distortions of the truth in order for you to be happy. And in my way of viewing life and the world, that leads to disaster. Truth to me is gigantic. All you have to do is read a lot of the stuff that I've written over the past few years, the way I counsel and so forth. Radical honesty to me is such a basic concept that we are guided by truth. We're guided by evidence. If somebody tells us something, we need to verify what they have to say. And I don't go around being paranoid. I don't go around thinking that people are telling me lies. But I look at things for the truth. And to think that the only person that I could ever be attracted to is you is an illusion. And I know for a fact that you've been attracted to other men. And that doesn't bother me because I'm not under that illusion.
Right. But, I mean, we both are very open with each other. Yeah, he's a handsome guy. Or
right.
She's a good-looking lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of a thing. And we share that. But it's not because we find them attractive, but we aren't at the point of being attracted to.
Well, and let's suppose you got into a relationship with a guy that was attractive to you, and you developed a professional relationship with that person, where you're with the person regularly, you talk to him a lot of times and so forth. I could see you falling in love with that person. Now, you may not see that yourself.
Well, you've said many times on the show, the minute you deny it, you are in the greatest risk of having it happen.
Right. and as a husband, I might kind of see this thing developing, and it might be somewhat alarming to me. And I would know that you find this person attractive because you would have told me. And now I'm seeing you spend a whole lot of time with this person that you said was attractive. And I would then look at you, and one night you and I would have a deep conversation about how we can end our relationship with this guy that you find so attractive, who has become a professional partner for you. And that would be an interesting conversation. Mm-hmm. Because on the one hand, you'd see this you're drawn to the person. On the other hand, you could see my point, that this person could easily come between us if he hasn't already done so. Now, again, you and I never get that far with anybody.
No, that's right.
And the point is that, and to be honest, you probably bring up the problem more often than, I don't think I've ever brought up that issue.
No, you haven't.
In our entire married life, but you have on a few occasions. And the question really is it really a risk? Is it really a risk?
Well, it was more based on my feeling of the situation than the fact of the situation.
And what the point is that if you feel threatened by somebody in my life, whether or not I agree with you that it is a threat, the policy of joint agreement says you don't have anything to do with that person. I don't want to use the word veto again because you don't like that word.
We've discussed that many times.
You certainly have the right to say this person has to be out of your life. And we have done that. I mean, we have actually followed that in the past.
And because you are concerned about how I feel and that about my happiness,
right,
you will abide by that.
And I think that's a bigger issue to some extent than the threat of the other person. Because we could argue about the threat of the other person, but we can't argue about the fact that you're offended by my relationship with that person.
And the importance of your caring on how I react.
Right.
All right. Well, good discussion. I hope you're learning something from it and benefiting from it. We're going to continue on the other side. Would you like your spouse to hear what you just heard on Marriage Builders Radio? Or would you like to hear past broadcasts on topics of special interest to you? We are now offering unlimited downloads of over 5,000 Marriage Builders radio segments that you can listen to as often as you like. All advertisements and musical spacing has been eliminated, so you hear only the segment itself. There are 3 ways to find the segments you want to hear. They're identified by the original date of the broadcast, by the primary topic of discussion, and by a brief description of the segment, including the caller's question. By using our search engine, you can identify segments that are of interest to you. unlimited downloads of over 5,000 Marriage Builders radio segments. Take advantage of this offering. To download Marriage Builders segments of your choice, go to Radio Archives on the MarriageBuilders.com website, and everything will be explained to you. That's Radio Archives at MarriageBuilders.com. We have the Marriage Builders app, and it's free of charge to download on your smartphone. Go to our homepage on MarriageBuilders.com, and in the right-hand column, all the information is there to do so. Make sure the day does not end by what you have, the Marriage Builders app on your smartphone. Well, I'm just looking here. Helping others is a topic that has come up in an email. Jefferey in Nevada says, my sister-in-law is dealing with infidelity this past year. What do you recommend that I could pass on to them? What other forms of encouragement would you recommend to get them back on track? Now, before we get to Jeffrey's specific question, let's talk about when to intercede and help and when not to.
Yeah, basically, my experience as a marriage counselor has been that you can't really help people that don't ask for help.
Yes, that's very important. We get a lot of requests. Could you please call my husband or please call my wife?
Right.
And it's a policy at Marriage Builders that we don't make the call because it's not been asked for. And we take the calls that come in, that's for sure. But it has to be asked for first.
That's right. So what you have in the cases that we work with is one spouse that wants to save the marriage and the other one that we call the reluctant spouse. So in his particular case, I would imagine that you have the same situation. One of them probably wants to have some help here and perhaps has communicated that to him, and he doesn't know exactly how to help.
Well,
so
I think
somebody has probably come forward and asked for some help.
The sister-in-law is dealing with infidelity. So I feel her husband has been unfaithful. She's dealing with this situation.
Yeah, his brother.
My sister-in-law could be his wife's sister.
Okay.
So we don't know who the betrayer is, know. But nevertheless, so in other words, you feel as if it's an open invitation. This is what I'm going through, and Jeffrey in Nevada, he knows of some good help, and he'd like to pass it on.
Yes.
But only do it if you are asked for.
Yeah, and work with the person who is asking for the help. So in other words, I would imagine that both of them are not asking him. They're not both coming to him and saying, what do we do about all of this? One of them is, the other one isn't. Now, if neither one of them is asking for help, then I don't know that he has.
Well, here's how I've heard that handled, and I have done such in many other kind of situations. We're going to be sending Jeffrey Surviving an Affair, because that is what his sister-in-law should be having. But I have a great book on what you are facing. And so let me just loan it to you. You can read it, not, but it might benefit you. So in other words, you offer it, and it's up to them whether they're going to read it. You don't push it down their throat. Would that not work?
It usually doesn't, but I mean, really, somebody's got to show some interest.
I have a great book on this topic, or I know of a website that speaks a lot about infidelity. If you're ever interested, ask me.
Yeah, I think you might begin with a question. Are you at all interested in getting more information about this problem?
See, I'm the eager beaver. I want to give the prescription and help them take the medicine too. So this is why it's a good discussion, because I'm sure there are a lot of listeners out there that might be in my category. And we like to be successful in what we offer, and our means of offering could mean no success.
One of the nice things about the way I go about trying to help people is that I write books, I write articles, we have this radio show, we have a forum, and people can come to us looking for information without revealing who they are or giving them the idea that we are out to save them. Okay? In other words, they can come with no strings attached. And so what we do is we provide information. Right? But in his particular case, he would be identified as the person who is trying to save them. And the person who is to be saved has to be looking. They have to be searching. And if they're not searching, your efforts are really going to be.
I still say, though, the offer can be on the table. And you can make the offer, and it's up to them whether they pick it up or not. But at least you haven't put tape over your mouth and I'm trying to tell them things, but I'm not supposed to. I think that's not good. I think you need to let them know that you have information if you're interested.
Well, I think that before you offer the information, it might be a good idea to ask the question, would you like more information on the problem that
I like that.
Okay.
That's good.
And then if they say, no, I'm not really interested, then, of course, you don't give them any information.
We're sending Jeffrey surviving an affair. Right. Whether it gets passed on to his sister-in-law is up to him here. But he says, what other forms of encouragement would you recommend to get them back on track? Now, I looked at what forms of encouragement I wanted to stop there. I didn't want to move on to get them back on track because that's more guidance. It's more deliberate. Mm-hmm. So let's stop with the word encouragement. What encouragement could they give his sister-in-law that's going through this horrible experience of her husband being unfaithful?
All right, then the first thing that you have to do, if the person is coming to you and saying, my spouse is having an affair and I'm devastated by all of this and I don't know what to do, you have to be a good listener, and you have to listen to what they're telling you. You don't give the person advice right away. You have to say, all right, I'm going to be here for you when you need me, when you're afraid, when you're having a panic attack, when you don't know what to do next. I want to be here to listen to what you have to tell me. And then when they ask you, after they've told you how they're feeling and what they're going through and so forth, then they ask you the question, what should I do? And what you do in a case like that is what I usually say, and that is reveal this to other people. Get some support. Now, this is something that's very controversial. A lot of people get very upset with this piece of advice that we offer, but we advise people to expose the affair. Let people know what's going on in your life. And you do this for two reasons. Well, number one is for your own personal support. Instead of bottling it all up and having to endure all of this by yourself without any support from anybody, now you've got some friends that can help you with what it is you're going through. And then the second thing is we found that exposing an affair speeds up the inevitable. Now, when I say inevitable, I'm saying that it either speeds up the death of the affair. We talk about affairs dying a natural death. And as soon as the other person knows that now this affair is exposed, the other person might say, it's not worth it. I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to do this anymore. And your own spouse may feel that way as well. Or if it's going to end up in a divorce, that's faster too. But whatever is going to happen happens quicker. And of course, when people are having affairs, and you know that you're having an affair, it's painful, extremely painful, and it's kind of like going through all of this pain day after day, week after week, month after month. What exposure does is at least puts an end to whatever this process is going to be, and so that you don't have to go through it as much. And then you say to them, after you've told everybody about this, I want you to know that we will support you in whatever it is you decide. Whatever you decide to do. If you're going to get a divorce, we will support you in that. And if you're going to try to save your marriage, we will support you in that. We will help you with whatever you need help with. We're there for you when you need it. That's what the betrayed spouse needs at the time that their spouse is having an affair.
All right. Be a good listener. That's a good message to take in. When we come back, a woman has to ask the question, how can I have a good conversation with my husband? Well, that's a good topic, and we'll address that on the other side. Have you been to the forum? The MarriageBuilders.com forum? It's a community where people come with their marriage problems and receive direction, support, and encouragement from those who have solved those problems in their own marriages. They did this by using Dr. Harley's Marriage Builders concepts. You can view the daily interaction without registering, but to join in the discussion, you need to register. If you have any questions about registering or anything else about the forum, the administrator will help you by email. Your identity is kept completely confidential, and there's no charge. Just about every marital problem imaginable has been addressed on the forum. So don't hesitate to describe your problem to those who can help. Whether your problems are simple or complicated, new, or have been going on for years, the Marriage Builders Forum can help you find solutions. Are you looking for direction, support, and encouragement in your marriage? Check out the Marriage Builders Forum. Welcome back to Marriage Builders Radio, and glad you could join us during this hour. And remember, if you have a question, you can email mbradio@marriagebuilders.com. And that's what Joanna did. And her question is how to have a good conversation with her husband. How do I have a deeper conversation with my husband of 13 years? Conversation is hard because he is not in touch with his own feelings. A lot of time when I try to initiate or maintain conversation, I get a lot of, I don't know, responses. It makes me feel like he doesn't care. And I found an interesting
common problem for women.
Attachment there that he doesn't care enough to engage in discussion, conversation with me.
Yeah.
He's taking a shortcut. He's just listening, but I want more than listening.
Right. And the issue of care is a good word to use because I have always argued that the meeting of emotional needs is an act of care. And any emotional need that you want to bring up. You can bring up physical attractiveness. If you lose weight, it's an act of care for your husband or wife if weight is an issue for that person. If the person wants more openness and honesty, it's an act of care for you to reveal more of yourself to that person, which is what she's up against right here. If it is affection, learning to be an affectionate person, of course, is an act of care. We often think of it as an act of care, but so is all the rest of them. They're all acts of care. So in this particular case, I think she's right. He doesn't care for me. Now, that could also mean that he doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about me. That's a little different. In other words, he might say, I care a lot about you. I want you to be happy. But the problem is that wanting somebody to be happy is different than making them happy. In other words, if I say, there's a wonderful verse in James, that says, I think it's 2:16, James 2:16, that if a person says, be filled, go, person coming that is in hunger, and you say to them, go and be filled. We say this a lot of times with people.
I wish you all the best.
For you.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah.
Is not, and then they don't give them anything to eat. You see, how can you argue that this person cares? It's a wonderful verse, James 2:16. So the basic idea is that we show our care by doing things for people. And her husband isn't doing what she needs. And the reason he's not doing what she needs is not because he doesn't want her to be happy. I'm sure he does, wants her to be happy. But he's not doing what will make her happy because he has not developed the skill set to be a good communicator with his wife. Now, one of the things that I would recommend is to download my personal history questionnaire that is in the questionnaire section of our website. And each of you, Joanna and her husband, fills out this personal history questionnaire. And what it does is it gives us a lot of information about their past. And there's actually a little mental health section as well. What kinds of mental health problems do you have? Now, I used this questionnaire when people would come to me with their problems because I wanted to get to know them. And by filling it out, after reading it over, I knew more about them than their spouse did. So I made this available to couples so that they could get to know each other better. So this would be a way of him getting himself to express himself more openly and honestly.
Okay, I can see a little problem here, because if he's the type of person that just doesn't even converse with his male friends, he's just not a talker. I could see filling out the personal history questionnaire, and she looks at it and she said, "Oh, so you did this in school. Did you enjoy it?" And he'll say, "Well, I don't remember."
No, he did. He does remember what he put down
the facts. He remembers the facts, but beyond the facts, and that's what conversation is, beyond facts.
Okay, this has been my experience in working with people about their past. And that is that if you can get a hook of any kind, all of a sudden the memories start coming back. And with the memory goes emotional reactions. With the memory actually goes visions. I mean, you can actually see the playground. You can actually imagine exactly.
And it's always bigger than you ever,
right.
When you have a chance to go back, it got so small over the years.
Yeah, no, I think the personal history questionnaire would be a trigger.
Okay, well, it's a good place for her to start.
To get them started in their conversation. And to the extent that they start talking about things like that, it might get them on a path.
Well, you've made the comment.
Start talking more often.
You've made the comment that there are. Everybody likes to talk about something, and everybody has a topic that will get them going.
Right.
And maybe they are not conversant on much else, but there's one topic for sure that will get them going. And so in this gentleman's arena, you might think that I bet you there's an area that he is really interested in that she could begin the conversation with, and then maybe he could start developing in other areas as well.
Yeah, now what she's looking for is emotional reactions to things. That's what she's looking for. What she wants is a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
Now, if he were to tell her about how he does on the job and the day that he had and the appointments he had and how they had, that might not be what she's looking for, even though he would like to talk about that sort of thing. Now, that's one of the friends of good conversation. I think that you and I need to talk to each other about what happened during the day. Mm-hmm. But what she's looking for is a deeper conversation. How do you feel about things? What is your reaction? How do you react to this kind of a presentation? And what she's looking for is for him to have some depth of feeling. Now, part of her problem is that most men don't have much depth of feeling. See, I am a good example of a person who is verbally skilled. I mean, I have good vocabulary when it comes to expressing emotional reactions, because I'm a psychologist. I know what all the words are. But if you tell me what I want is to know the depth of my feelings, I would tell you I don't have as much depth as you do.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not as deep as you are.
That surprises me, because I think you are deep, actually.
Yeah, but I'm not as deep as you are. And part of it is my emotional reactions are not as intense.
Yeah, and you're happier to stop at a certain level where I want to go deeper.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I understand that. Okay, then I'm in agreement with you on that.
Yeah, and I think that this is simply a difference between men and women. So a lot of times women are saying, doesn't that worry you? Aren't you concerned about that? And I would say, no, I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned about it. Don't you have any anxiety? Don't you have any fear? Don't you have any this? Don't you have any that? Well, I suppose a little, but it's not enough to keep me awake at night. And haven't you ever had a panic attack? No, I can't ever remember.
Okay, but some men could actually say yes to these things.
Some men can.
Yes, I have anxiety, and yes, I do get depressed, and I do have panic attacks.
Right.
So what are you saying? I mean,
well, I would say most don't, and so if she's married to one of these guys that doesn't, then what she's going to learn about him is that she is married to a man. This is what he's like.
All right. Well, it's an interesting question. I knew it would have a general interest in our audience as well. But conversation, you have the Friends and Enemies of Good Conversation, and that is found on marriagebuilders.com, right?
It is. It's in the basic concepts, and you have to just look at the emotional needs. Go to the emotional needs section of the basic concepts, and then you'll look at each emotional need, and under conversation, you'll see the friends and enemies of good
All
conversation.
right. And that might be a bad thing for people to look into because you want to make sure that you are not alienating your spouse from having a good conversation with you.
Yeah.
And you're not participating into the enemies. And the enemies are what?
Enemies are making demands,
Yeah.
being disrespectful.
Talk to me. I want to talk about this
Right.
now. Yeah.
Being angry, and
Okay.
dwelling on mistakes of the past.
Oh, yes. Okay. And everybody can think,
Right.
I might have done a few of those things in conversations in the past. Well, the point is get the friends in there and get the enemies out. And we should be sending then Joanna a copy of what?
Well, let's send her His Needs, Her Needs.
Okay.
Because that's the basic book on meeting emotional needs.
We're going to break in just a minute, but let me introduce this email from Janice. It's very brief. She says, we've been married 10 years and my husband has developed habits that attract women. How do we draw up correct boundaries? Well, I'd love to know what the habits are that he has that attract women. And I think it's important that she recognize and she express how she is not happy with what he is doing, right?
Yeah, the basic problem that she's dealing with is that he is a flirt.
And I love how she put it, developed habits that
Yes.
attract women.
He's a flirt.
So his flirting is working because the women are attractive.
Yeah, right. And he is good at starting conversations. He's probably really good at showing admiration, saying what you're wearing is very attractive. That you are that was smart in a conversation to tell a person that was what they said was very interesting and you enjoy admiration is a big deal in marriage. And for him to admire other women, for him to tell them that they look attractive and all the rest of that is driving Janice nuts. And so my advice to him is to stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. If there's something he's doing that bothers her, he needs to stop doing it. We talked about that in the very beginning of our program. And the question is then what does he do? Does he ignore other women? No, you don't ignore other women, but you don't admire them. Don't admire them.
Verbally.
Yeah.
In front. I mean, I don't know how that came out. Kind of strange. Let me pick it up on the other side because I have a question there somewhere.
All right.
And because you want to be able to communicate sincerity.
Yep.
If you do admire somebody, so it seems stifling if you're not going to be able to express that. Okay, we'll get the answer on the other side. Have you been to marriagebuilders.com yet? Its purpose is to help you resolve your marital conflicts in a way that creates romantic love. If you both follow the advice this website provides, you'll solve your problems and be in love with each other in no time. If you're new to marriagebuilders.com, before you read anything else, you should take the tour. Click Site Tour on the home page, and you'll have a complete overview in a matter of minutes. Then, go to Basic Concepts. That's because they provide the logical basis for all Dr. Harley's solutions to marital problems, and it's completely free of charge. If you only have a few minutes, and you want a quick overview, read the first topic in that section called A Summary of Dr. Harley's Basic Concepts. Take in Dr. Harley's articles and Q&A columns, interact with others on the forum, and learn to become an expert in making your marriage the best it can be. That's marriagebuilders.com. Okay, let's pick up this conversation here regarding boundaries, as Janice was saying, that her husband has developed habits that attract women. How do we draw up correct boundaries? And before the break, you said, don't admire other women. And I thought during the break, I'm a singer. And after doing a number, say in church or some event, men and women will come up and compliment me and thank me for my music. But I don't think of it as flirting. I think of it as being sincere. They enjoyed what I presented, and I appreciated them expressing that.
Yeah, now I might, if I were a jealous husband, I might be offended by that kind of thing. And I would tell you that here's a particular person who is being particularly admiring, and you have those people in your life that are particularly admiring.
Yes, but
okay.
I know how to feel them. I know.
And if I were to tell you, that offends me, that you have this person in your life, you would put the kibosh on that relationship.
Typically I say thank you very much, and I move on.
Right. Now, the problem is, what if the husband or the wife of this admiring person were to tell him that, from my perspective, you're being a little too admiring. I'd like you to back off. You see, that's Janice's issue here.
And then, in using my illustration here of my singing, what he could do is he could say to Janice, let's just assume it's this couple, I really appreciated her number. And then Janice would come to me and say, George and I really enjoyed your number. Thank you very much.
That would be one way of handling it, right. Mm-hmm.
So, the idea of not expressing admiration when it has no intention of being flirtatious. There's got to be a way to be able to do that and express yourself.
I'll tell you though, I have counseled so many people whose spouses really are flirts. And the question is, what is a flirt? What is a flirt? A flirt is somebody who is reaching out to someone of the opposite sex and meeting their emotional needs. And it's usually with admiration. Admiration is usually the key to the whole thing. You could also reach him with affection. And let me explain the difference between admiration and affection, because it's an important difference. Admiration is, I really appreciate what you do. I really appreciate it. I value it. Affection is, I will be there for you when you need me. You can count on me. I will care for you. That's affection. Admiration is, I value you. Affection is, I care about you. Now, what flirts do is they do both of those things. If a flirt will say, if you ever need help, if you ever need a move, if you ever need me, give me a call. I'll be there for you. And a person that admires adds to that, I really think you're wonderful. I think you're valuable. I think you're cute. I think, you're everything I've ever wanted in a woman. That kind of thing is extremely objectionable to most women. They do not like their husbands doing that kind of thing.
No, absolutely not.
See, and yet, a lot of men...
We've been out with couples, and
right.
where the guy has done that in the restaurant with the waitress.
Right.
And we sit there rather stiff
Yep.
and uncomfortable, and it kind of ruined the dinner in a way, because you knew his wife was going through agony and was not pleased. And yet it never seemed to stop. And I think that's what Janice is getting at. There's got to be some understanding of what is uncomfortable to your spouse.
Right.
And those are called the boundaries. That it bothers me when you do this. And it's dangerous when you do this.
And do these things lead to an affair? Yes, they do. A person who is a flirt is kind of like a farmer planting seeds. And every once in a while, the seed will come up, and he'll have a taker. He'll have somebody who says, I'd be interested in a more serious relationship with you. And then you're off and running, and it's hard to stop once it gets started.
So what would be good reading material for Janice and her husband?
Well, I don't have anything on flirtings per se. Maybe I should write an article on flirting. I'm thinking about writing another article one of these days, and maybe that would be a good one.
Okay, we can put that in the category of some of the ones to be considered.
But we will send them a copy of His Needs, Her Needs.
All right. And, of course, in His Needs, Her Needs,
it's what he should be doing for her exclusively.
Yeah, there you go.
Exclusively.
The word exclusive is very critical in that regard. Well, there you go. Our time is gone for this day, and we're so glad you could join us for this hour. Just a couple of reminders. Remember to check out the website. A lot of you often just go to the homepage and listen to the show. But go and learn what the basic concepts are and get into the article section. Don't forget the forum. Oh, there are wonderful people there on that forum that want to be there to answer your questions right away. So check that out as well. And again, email your questions to mbradio@marriagebuilders.com. Well, I'm Joyce Harley along with Dr. Bill Harley, and join us again for Marriage Builders Radio, building marriages to last a lifetime. Join the thousands of couples who have learned step by step how to experience a meaningful and fulfilling love relationship. They did this by completing Dr. Harley's online seminar and home study courses, His Needs, Her Needs, and Love Busters. Here's how it works. You'll begin by watching an online seminar where Dr. Harley will help you identify the problems you face in your marriage. Then, the home study courses will show you how to solve those marital problems in a systematic way. Go to marriagebuilders.com homepage and click the tab Courses, Seminar, and Accountability. Look for program number 2 for a description of the seminar and the courses. Then follow the instructions on that page to place your order. Start the program the day the package arrives. And if you're not completely satisfied, send it back to us within 30 days, and you'll receive a full refund, including shipping charges. Restore passion to your marriage. Order today. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.